Okay, so now that we are in the Etsy Direct Checkout Payments 2020 file from our welcome email and the attachments, we want to organize this, and this will be the last one that we'll have to go through. So this report should look pretty familiar to you if you're an Etsy seller. So as you can see, this report is pulled directly from my client's Etsy seller account. It is a log of all of her sales from May to August. For this one in particular, we're going to organize it a little bit differently. So follow along as I do this. So first things first, we know we want to name this tab our raw data tab. Again, just in case something gets lost, this is our original download from Etsy. Next thing I want to do is right click, move or copy, move to end, and create a copy. We're going to name this file for import. Okay, so now that we're in our working file or the file for import tab, as we know, we only want 3 columns to import. We want the name or description, we want the date, and we want the amount. So as you can see, there are a ton of amounts on here, just like PayPal. So let's go through here and figure out what we need to get. So we do not need to worry about this or this, so I'm going to delete these two. We do want the name. So these are the names of all the people that bought from us. So we can leave these in here. We don't need to worry about the order. We'll go over the amounts in a second. So as you can see, Etsy gives you 2. They give you the gross, fees, and net, posted gross, posted fees, posted net, adjusted gross, adjusted fees, and adjusted net. I know this can all be very confusing. Let's just get the gross, the fees, and the net in column B, C, and D. So I'm going to get rid of all of these columns. I'm also going to get rid of our currency, and I'm also going to get rid of the listing amount. So we can delete all of these. And as you can see, we have a ton more here. Currency, exchange rate, VAT amount, gift card apply. We don't need any of this information. I know it's useful for you, but for accounting, we do not need it. Now, the last thing is we want the date here. And let's get rid of our payment type. And let's just see if we have any refunds in here. So we do have a refund, okay? So let's make a note of this. We do have a refund. And let's come down here and see if we have any more. So we have several refunds in here. So the refunds can get a little tricky. So here's how we want to do this. Let's go to that first one we saw of $87.50. $87.05. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a special note of this. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put it at the bottom. So what we're going to do, since Etsy only gives you back the net amount, we want to make sure that we include the sale and we include the fee. And we want to take this out of sales. And I'll show you how we do this in QuickBooks, but let's bring this down here and add an extra column. So all I'm going to do is come down here, right click, and click paste. Since the refunds are a little different, here's what I want to do. I know that we gave a refund for $87.05, so I'm going to come over here and in column B, again, we're going to have one amount, we're going to have one column for all the amounts. So I'm just going to put this negative $87.05 in here. I'm actually going to get rid of this, and get rid of this, and get rid of this, okay? I'm going to do the same thing with Carla right here. I'm going to copy this, and we want to leave the original as it is, so I'm going to copy, come down here, right click, paste, and in this I'm going to put the refund amount. Again, we want to make sure we account for the refund. We also want to make sure we account for the actual sale itself and the fees. Those are important. Okay, so we can get rid of this, and now there's one more. So I'm going to copy this. Again, we want to leave the original in there. We're just picking up the refund. Come down here, select paste, and in my amount here, I'm going to put a negative 74.4. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. We can get rid of this. Okay, so now we just picked up all the refunds that we had, so we can get rid of this column F right here. Okay, so if you're following along, we're going to do this exactly like we did the PayPal. We want to make sure that we have our gross coming in as sales. We want to make sure we have our fees accounted for as well. So I believe every one of these does have a fee. And there's a quick way to tell if you don't have a fee. So let's just sort this by smallest. So as you can see, we do have fees for every transaction. Okay? So I'm going to copy all of these, again, because we want to make sure that we account for all the fees as fees, and we want to make sure we account for all of the sales as sales, this gross amount right here. So what I'm going to do is come down here, and below this, I'm going to right click and paste. There's one more trick we have to do. I'm going to come over here to a blank cell, say equals a negative. So now we're going to account for all these fees, since these are negatives. These are actually expenses as negative numbers. Come down here, right click, copy. Then I'm going to come back over here and paste them in here, right click, paste 1, 2, 3. And now I can get rid of this because we have all the fees here. So I'm going to right click, get rid of all this. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to make sure we pick up all the dates for these fees. So let's get all the dates. I'm going to come right here, right click, paste. Now we have all the dates for the fees. So once we have all the dates here, the next thing is we want to give this a name. So these are all of our Etsy fees. So we can just type it in once, click on it, click this, and drag this all down. So I'm going to say OK. So now we have all of our Etsy fees. All right. So now what we just did is we made sure that we split out the sales and the fees as separate items that we're going to import. Okay, and now you can see we have all of our items, all of our numbers on one line, and all of our deposits are positive, and all of our fees down here and our refunds are negative. Okay, so now all we need to do is we're going to get rid of columns C and D, delete these. We'll come back up to the top and just do an overview. So as you can see, we have our total amount. So we're going to say that Tamara paid us $2, but there's a fee somewhere in there which is accounted for. Okay, and this happened on 6/30. All right, so this all looks good. The last thing that we want to do here is we want to come down here and right click or open up a new workbook right here in Excel. And I want to save this as a CSV file to import. Okay. So now I'm going to come up here to the top, say OK, buyer name. We're going to select all of these. And I'm going to right click, copy, and I'm going to put them all on our new workbook here. Right click, paste. And now I'm going to save this file as our Etsy fee, Etsy sales import file. So I'm going to go over here to Etsy accounting course documents. I'm going to save it again. We make sure we save it as a type CSV file. I'm going to name it Etsy direct seller payment file for import. As you can see, the other ones that we did right here. Okay, so I know that can be a little confusing for Etsy and for PayPal, but again, just remember, we want to make sure we count for the fees and the sales as two separate items. And fees go in as negative and sales go in as positive. So once we have the negative and the positive numbers in here, the only other thing to note with an Etsy direct seller payment file are the refunds. So as you can see, we already took care of this earlier, but if I go down here to my negative numbers, you'll see my refunds right here. So again, we want to think about these refunds just like we did the fees. These are in fact reducing the amount of money we have in the Etsy bank account. Okay? So one very important thing to remember here is that we need to make any refunds negative numbers. Once we get into QuickBooks itself, I will show you how you can keep track of just refunds. But for now, let's just do this.